Hey there all, I hope everyone is doing well today. So today is the video for Tuesday, September 29th, and we have quite a bit to do, so I'm just going to get right into it here. So I did change our online course schedule and syllabus a little bit. So if you do want to take a look at those, definitely highly recommend it. So for today, what we're going to be doing and what I'm going to be talking about in this video is the paper invention and drafting work for essay number 2, which you should begin this week. I would definitely start drafting the essay number 2 because we pretty much have to move right along. And 6-week grades are due quite soon. So 6-week grades will actually be up by October 7th, and I have to get those in by October 7th by 3 p.m. But anyways, what we're working on is paper invention and drafting work for essay number 2, and also the DCA reflection letter. So these are things that you should be completing throughout the week and working on for class today. And then for homework for today, you should continue annotating the Rob Walker article. And I have a class discussion up about the article, and that is due on Thursday by midnight. And you should continue drafting the second paper as well. So please note that the draft of the RA is due on Thursday. And we're going to be doing an online writing workshop and also peer review. And I will also make a video and probably also post a small video and lesson about MLA style and in-text citations. And then over the weekend, you should continue drafting. And then next week, we will finish up peer review. And then the final version of the RA will be due on Thursday, October 8th by midnight. So that is pretty much what we're up to, but for now, let's just concentrate on this. So first, I would like to talk about the DCA reflection letter. And that is something that can be found right on our Blackboard page, and you can find it under paper guidelines and materials. And under the essay number 1 materials, the discourse community essay. And then under the DCA reflection letter. So what you should do is make a new Google Doc, and you should keep your reflection letters for your portfolio. So what I would do is create a Google Doc and set it aside and sort of complete it. It's only a 1-page assignment, but basically what reflection is it's part of the writing process in terms of reflecting upon your own writing, seeing what you need to improve, seeing what your strengths are, and sort of just an overall learning process of the writing process and also for composition 1 and 2. So we will be doing a reflection letter for each paper. So for the DCA, what is the reflection letter? Part of the learning process is reflecting on your work. The goal of this letter is to demonstrate not only what you have learned in a course and throughout your time at school, but also to demonstrate that you have a clear understanding of the quality of the work you have produced. Another goal of the reflective letter is to discuss where you must continue to improve after the course is finished or after the essay is completed. So these are meant to be completed after you turn in the essay. So it's really sort of a letter to your reader, and it will also introduce your papers in terms of your digital portfolio. So these are guidelines that you should be using to rate the reflection letter. And this is for the DCA. This was for the first paper. So what you want to do is describe your initial reaction to the assignment once it was presented. Describe how you got started. How did your time management go? What were your general processes used to complete the essay? What sort of difficulties did you encounter? What would you improve upon? What did you enjoy writing about the DCA? How did you feel about the writing process of the DCA? So how long a reflection letter should be? It should be at least a page, and it should be kept along with your drafts, final drafts, pre-writing, etc. in your Google Drive and in your Google Docs. So reflection letters for each paper will be included in your digital portfolio for your Google site. It should be double spaced in 12-point font and be about 1 page in length. Save the file within your Google Drive as a doc to be included within your Google site later. So here's the sample letter for the DCA, and each reflection letter should begin with Dear Reader. Each reflection letter should address your reader. And this is a sample from one of a previous class or a previous student of mine. I was a bit enthusiastic about writing the discourse community essay, yet I wasn't sure how it would unfold. I really hoped that I would be able to create a piece that followed the guidelines of the assignment. So really, the first paragraph that the sample describes is sort of the student's initial reaction to the paper. And then the second paragraph here has to do with his sort of reflections upon the writing workshops, how he felt about peer review. And he also talks about time management. I had a difficult time finishing each matter in a timely manner. Having the assignment broken down into segments due on a timeline was very helpful in keeping me online. I noticed that I seemed to have a hard time keeping my topic focused and structured. I had to remind myself of the rhetorical situation of this particular assignment and stay on point. And this paragraph has to do with peer review and how he felt about peer review. He felt stuck in place, and then he felt that peer review was helpful in adding more structure to my narrative and how to make my topic senses more clear. And then his overall reaction was that he found this assignment to be a positive experience. Navigating Google Sites proved to be relatively easy. The textbook and lectures provided valuable guidance, and the peer review was very helpful. Although I realized I am at the very beginning of my rhetorical journey, I feel much more confident about writing in an academic setting. So the importance of reflective writing, especially in composition courses, especially in Comp 1, it really is a way for you to sort of reflect upon your writing process. And that's really the main idea there. And it is something that is included in both Comp 1 and Comp 2. So once you get that done, you can set it aside and include it with your Google site along with the draft and the final version of your DCA. So now I'm going to focus on the annotating of the Rob Walker article. Again, that can be found under the paper guidelines and materials and under the essay number 2 materials. And then there is no tech backlash annotation activity. So again, I noticed there's only a few annotations and page notes. So definitely keep doing that. Definitely annotate, keep taking notes. Now another option is, if you would like, you can print out the article and take notes on it that way. So what students do in terms of that when they print out the article, and in terms of the digital portfolio, what you have to do though is include pictures of whatever notes you take on the article. So I do need to see some type of notes or annotations in order to be able to pass to you on that component for the final digital portfolio. So what I'm saying is, if you want to print it out, you can go to There Is No Tech Backlash article, and then you can file and print. And you're perfectly welcome to do that. Another option you could do is download a version of the article, and you can also take notes in Word or even in Adobe Acrobat if that's something you're interested in. if you want to keep it electronic and so I'm able to read your notes. That's really the only concern. The only reason I have concerns about handwritten notes in terms of annotating the article is if I cannot read your notes, then I cannot give you those points. So another way would be to download the document and then enable editing. And you can also add comments in Word or in Adobe Acrobat, whichever you prefer or want to use. But what I'm saying in terms of that is that let's say I wanted to highlight this main argument here. And this is Walker's main argument here. So what you would do if you wanted to highlight it is go up here to highlight text color. And you can also highlight in Word and take notes. So if I wanted to take notes on this, I would highlight it again and make a new comment. And then you would just hit enter. So you can also make comments in Word or in Adobe Acrobat. And there is a way to also include screenshots of your notes within the final digital portfolio. So you could do that, or you could print it out and take notes on the article if you wish. And what previous students of mine have done in terms of that is that they would take pictures with their cell phone of whatever notes they took and include that within the digital portfolio. So that's also really easy to do. So it really depends on you and your preference, but my main point is that annotations and notes are mandatory in terms of this assignment and paper. So hopefully that makes a bit more sense. And the reason why it's so important is we want to be able to see how you use writing techniques in terms of applying it to the article. And the reason why the annotations are also so important is in terms of understanding the reading, the main thesis, and the elements of logos, ethos, pathos, and supporting reasons for Walker's argument. So like I said, I did post a class discussion, and that is due on Thursday by midnight. So again, the class discussion is under discussion boards, and it is under the class discussion, the Rob Walker article. And you can create a new thread from there. But this prompt here is really trying to get you to start thinking in terms of the article, in terms of continue highlighting key terms and main ideas. What stands out to you from the article? How does Walker use ethos or establish his credibility as the author? Do you support his main argument? Why or why not? And I do prompt to make annotations on the article as well. What are some of your thoughts? What is your reaction to the article? And how does Walker establish pathos or emotional appeal? And how does Walker establish or demonstrate logos or logical appeal? What sort of research and sources does he use? Are they credible? And also another way to establish logical appeal is to use terms and defining those terms and describing his argument. So there are a few terms within the article. If you want to go and define those terms, that would be a way to establish logical appeal. And you can also talk about how Walker uses some of those key terms within the article in terms of logical appeal. So the class discussion will be due on Thursday, September 1st by midnight. So anyway, that does address the DCA reflection letter. And I have addressed annotations of the Rob Walker article and the class discussion about the article. And now I want to move on in terms of covering the paper invention and drafting work for essay number 2. And just for clarification, essay number 2 is often referred to as the RA or rhetorical analysis. It's just easier to say RA. So if you find me saying the RA within these videos, it just refers to paper number 2 or the rhetorical analysis. Now, one other thing I do want to cover very quickly is that I do have this sample paper here, and I definitely would take a read at this. And what I'm going to be concentrating on today is talking about this introduction and this particular thesis statement. So this previous student of mine chose that she did not agree with Walker's argument, but I will cover that within the lesson. But if you want to take a look at the sample paper, definitely recommend doing so. She did a great job. And you can also find the guidelines here as well, which I did cover within the last video. So if you need to take a look at the last video, feel free. So anyways, moving on to today's lesson, I will be covering lesson 8, the tech backlash article discussion, and paper number 2, invention. So for paper 2, we're analyzing an article from the New York Times, and we are analyzing it rhetorically. And it's an article called There Is No Tech Backlash by Rob Walker. So let's do a class discussion. So what is the main thesis statement within the article? Walker's thesis statement and claim revolves around technology, and he seems to think there is no tech backlash, despite all of the problems technology has caused, such as concerns about privacy, security, and tech monopolies in business. And his counterclaim associates that our usage of devices suggests that there are no issues or backlash. But obviously, this is a controversial statement, isn't it? Rhetorical analysis is about analyzing the controversial nature of an argument using the things we've learned so far about argument, the rhetorical situation, and rhetorical appeals. Now, in terms of the article, he discusses a lot of issues about technology, like about privacy and security. And one thing that he does talk about quite a bit is the privacy and security concerns when it comes to smart speakers like Amazon Alexa and also Google Home speakers. And there have been concerns about privacy and security breaches in the past with those products because a lot of those smart speakers will randomly turn on. And it's even been said that a lot of them will turn on and listen to private conversations even though they should not be on. And the tech monopolies in business that he talks quite a bit about is about Facebook and also about Amazon. And Facebook has had issues with privacy and security, so he talks about quite a bit about that. So he really talks about some controversial subjects. So your thesis statement for the RA should state whether you think Walker's argument is effective or not rhetorically. This involves thinking about logos, ethos, and pathos. So some things to be thinking about and how to build your own thesis statement is to take notes on the article and sort of think about how does Walker establish logos appeal throughout the article? What sort of logical and ideas does he present to support his own argument in light of thinking about technology? How does he build his ethos appeal? How does he establish his own credibility? And what sort of research does he present to support his credibility as a writer and also to support his argument? And lastly, how does he use emotional appeal throughout the article? What sort of emotions does the article invoke within you as the reader? So then taking it a step further, let's take a look at the sample paper together for this assignment. Now your argument may be nuanced, and that's okay. It's really up to you whether you find Walker's argument effective or not, or maybe somewhere in between. but the point is to be able to analyze a piece of writing and find your position in the midst of a writer's own argument. Do you agree or do you not agree, and why? So in the case of the sample paper we're looking at today, the student did not agree with his main argument. And this is the introduction and thesis statement from the sample paper. And you can also find the sample paper right here. If you click on this link, it will take you to it. But this is a screenshot of the sample paper. So I'm going to just read it and sort of break down this introduction and thesis statement here that the student used. So over the years, individuals have become increasingly codependent on technology. We are fascinated by its many capabilities. For instance, speaking devices such as Amazon Echo and Google Home gives us the ability to command an annoying robotic voice telling us the local weather conditions for the day. So what she's doing here is establishing some context from the article. And she's also giving us a sort of preview of some of the main key ideas and features of the article. Like I was talking about, Walker talks quite a bit about the Amazon Echo and the Google Home in terms of security and privacy concerns. So that's what the student is doing here, is building helpful context or background information about the article. So then she goes on to say, a vortex is sucking us in like a vacuum, and corporate companies such as Amazon are aggressively trying to warp us into the smart home trend. So we no longer have to move from our couch to turn on or turn off lights. Also, social media providing unmediated communication as we compare our lives to Jane Doe, who paints a perfect life behind a computer screen. So what she's talking about here is concerns about companies and also social media like Facebook. So then she goes on to say it provides a platform to cyberbully and advocate violence, play-by-plays of daily routines, the social nuisance of accepting friend requests from a stranger just to obtain social status. So again, that is sort of a critique about Facebook. And Rob Walker does say quite a bit about Facebook within the article. And again, she's building that helpful context, and then she's building her evidence up to her main argument and thesis statement. So then she goes on to say a considerable portion of the population can give us enough positive examples of tech use, but if you dig into the center of the black hole known as technology, you will surprisingly find out the backlash is there. So what she's doing there is sort of critiquing Rob Walker's argument, but she's doing it in a respectful manner and also addressing her own concerns about that sort of thing, and also concerns about Walker's use of rhetorical appeals and evidence within the article. So then her main argument goes on to say in the New York Times, Rob Walker, author of The Art of Noticing and correspondent for The Marker, writes an inadequate version of his analysis on the article There Is No Tech Backlash. His use of ethos, pathos, and logos provides a vague picture towards his audience and lacks confidence within his claims. So that is her main thesis statement and argument there. So anyway, going on to the paper number 2 invention. Thinking about the sample paper and our class discussion, here is an invention exercise to get started. And this should be paper number 2 invention. This is for drafting, so this is what I would be looking at if I were to sit down and draft this assignment. So what do you think about the impact of technology? Are Walker's claims valid? Thinking about the article, Walker expresses concerns about security and privacy when it comes to devices like Google Home or Alexa speakers. What is your stance on this issue? Do you have concerns about security and privacy? And lastly, do you think Walker's claims are an effective argument? Why or why not? Thinking about this will help with the invention of your thesis statement for the second paper. So that's what we're doing today, is writing that introduction and the thesis statement. And on Thursday, we're going to move on to drafting the body paragraphs. So that is all for today's lesson and our materials. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Again, my email can be found on the online syllabus. And you can always click on that under my email and just click on that link directly, and you can always email me. And I also have office hours this Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. or by appointment, but I do like to schedule my appointments mostly on Fridays. So if you ever need to speak with me on Zoom, I can make an appointment with you on a Friday. Anyway, that is it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or come see me during office hours on Friday on Zoom. And again, my office hours can be found under the virtual office hours tab, and all the information is available to you if you want to stop in during my office hours. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.